Welcome to the H90 AI project. We're all asking the same questions about AI, some with excitement, others with a healthy dose of skepticism. We believe the answer is in the conversation. Not about being a technical expert, it's about being the human in the loop. This podcast series is for all practitioners, leaders, educators, entrepreneurs, the people on the front lines, whether they're embracing AI as a powerful tool or still approaching it with caution. We'll dive into different industries and perspectives to explore the critical questions around ethics and humanity. This isn't about being a passive observer. It's about participating to be empowered. Join us as we find our path forward, one conversation at a time.
Hi there, and welcome to the H90 AI Project podcast. This is our first time doing this. It's exciting for me. I am one of two hosts today, John Emerson, and my colleague Duncan Wilson's here as well. And we are very excited about launching this as a new way to reach out to our members and to talk about how people every day are using AI to do more and how they're managing AI to do what they want to get done rather than just be fearful of it, of some sort of future. It's about how we can become humans in the loop and how we can get more done. And so, Duncan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Duncan Wilson. I'm a principal at the St. Joseph's School for the Deaf in the Bronx, but I'm also an avid member of the AI project. In fact, with the start of school, I'm fresh off a presentation to graduate professors at Long Island University, and I'm also helping a colleague to analyze student reflections from a summer program he runs in the DC area. Both of those experiences relate to the AI 90 project because it's really focuses on the practical applications plus the ethical uses of AI in education. So it's good to see you both, and I'm ready to start.
Well, our guest today, Camille Landau, she's had a career in marketing. I'll let her introduce herself, but I love her story because outside of her many day jobs, she also has decided, gee, I wonder if I could use my various startup and marketing skills to build something new. And she's going to talk about this app idea called Willow. Camille, welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thanks for saying my name correctly, even though it's spelled Camille. And yes, I'm so glad to be part of this very class of 90. And I'm really glad to be part of this time in our learning, because I feel like the three of us here, and no doubt so many other people, are seeing new ways to learn and new frontiers to learn in. So I'm going to share how my desire to learn what might be called the state of the art on that day versus that week in certain tools led me to learning what else I could do in AI. I think that process is going to be endlessly opening. And then it led me to simply see what I could do, period. Which is kind of the point, I think.
Yes.
So, and I think that these little choose your own adventures, you don't know where they're going to lead. You just really want to start. So I'll show you where I started and then where it led and where it's leading, because I'm in a gerund state with this all. So as you mentioned, I have been in marketing for startups for many years. I've worked with probably about 100 companies, if not more. And it gives you an appreciation for where a company is in its development and what they have done, what they haven't done, what they have nailed, what they haven't, what workflows they've taken on, which they haven't, which ones they even have a name for, which they haven't. And so I started by looking at what the AI could do related to some of these workflows. And I don't know if you can see this. Okay. So do you see a screen?
I do.
That looks like great. Looks like a Google Sheet. Okay, terrific. So this is what I started with. This is a worksheet that we can put into the show notes afterwards. It's public. I've made it public. The goal here is to look at some of the workflows that a startup company might take on in the beginning. Again, some have, some haven't, but they're all worth doing. And seeing whether AIs are ready to help on them. And given that we have any number of AIs, look at what their results are comparatively so that we can learn how they interpret the task. Sometimes they interpret it differently in a very positive way, as in helping me learn about my own field. And of course, to do it as a contest because who doesn't like, bake-offs? And for each workflow, I have the prompt that I use exactly the same prompt for whichever bot I'm using. See that different bots have appeared and continue to appear, etc. The project really started, as I said, with trying to identify where the bots could help me with marketing type missions, such as creating a poll or creating a one pager or something more abstract like mission, vision, values. And I realized that why not actually start way at the beginning, which is, hey, AI, why don't you help me figure out what business I should create to test?
Wow.
And my first prompt, which is
So you put all of these amazing tasks together to say these are tasks that I would typically do with any startup,
that's
and
right.
then you basically ran through them with all of those different, and
Um,
so you did that sort of almost as a precursor to the
mhm.
rest of your story, and you got all that data, and then you're like, gee, I want to do more.
That's pretty
Is that
much it.
right?
Exactly. That's pretty much it. So, in fact, I just happened to click on the first one here, which will reflect the broader story here, because basically there was a sort of pre in order to run tests, I realized I needed to give it a test to run against. I needed to create a company for it to run against. And I asked it, although it's not represented, to come up with a list of companies. It did. I picked one that I thought worked. And in fact, here it is. So imagine you're the CMO of a SaaS startup that is building an easy and quick way for people to create a will. That's what the bot came up with. That would be a not bad idea. I thought that would be a not bad idea too. And also a medical directive. Please look up competitors, including Trust and Will and also Legal Shield, which, by the way, the bot had come up with, and write a positioning statement that highlights a competitive distinction that will be significant in the market and allow the startup to break through. So that's my human contribution to this, okay? But my only real human contribution as I'm going through is requesting the bots to do great work. And I think the bots did great work to come up with a company I should be looking at. I think they did great work in every single task I asked of them. And again, each bot I have do the tasks. And along the way, I had the prompt of, well, we need a name. And I asked all the bots, and the name that came up that I thought was best, and this is where I get to be the human, is Willow. And
That's awesome.
then,
I love that.
okay, thank you, as in will, but flexible.
So,
Uh,
so for each of these,
yeah,
did you collect the data
yes.
as well, and that's what all those hyperlinks are?
Exactly. And so fun with hyperlinks, you can click on any of them to see what the data was on that day for that task for that prompt.
Did you try and like evaluate or grade the different things? Because that's there's this big thing in AI product now, which is
That's
called
true.
evals, where you take your thing and you run it to all these different. And I'm actually just learning how to write evals now in software myself.
So I am just being the human evaluating here, and I do give each of them a winner. I wouldn't say a score, but I cite who the winner is and why. And
Cool. I
okay.
see.
And all the PDFs of the results are also linked. So anyone at any time can see the test results. And there are many meta things about this process that I'll talk about, following just explaining to you what happened. But one of them is just feeling this amazing level of support no matter what. so that not only do I have one partner to do one part of the project with, but I have multiple. Not only can I ask a follow-up question to one of the bots, I can ask it to multiple. It's this confidence that there will always be an answer, and that something good will come out, because so far it has. I'm up to, the 11th workflow, and in a second we'll see where that has led, because based on the 11th workflow, we have a type of company, a name for a company, a mission for a company, a target audience for the company, important language for that audience, competitive distinctions for that audience, and the most recent one was colors for the website.
Hold on, I want to ask one more question, and that is, if you previously were trying to do this
Yeah,
without AI,
yeah.
would you think that you'd talk to two or three types of people? Like, what type of team would you think you'd need to do this? I mean,
Each
because obviously you
each
knew it was there, and you're like,
uh,
but when I'm doing these things, I know that like this would be a type of thing. Typically, I'd talk to a designer, or
yes,
have you sort
exactly.
of thought about like what those types of roles might be?
First of all, it's a great note for me to insert into this document who I normally would have asked for help. And the answer includes both internal team members and external. There would have been room for a quantitative research agency, as an example. There would have been room for visual design. Not that you're going to see great visual design when I show it to you, but externally, there would have been the name for room for brand name specialist. And most of all, John, there would have been room for somebody to do the coding, because that's where I then went. There was a moment where I realized that, and I think this might be the first key aha I had, that if I know enough to ask bots to help me with things that I have some sense of, and they're doing such a good job. In fact, I can tell that they're doing a good job. I guess that's the value I offer. No one did a bad job. Some of them did at a particular moment a really, really good job, and I can have confidence based on my X years experience that that's the case. But that if I can feel comfortable asking bots to do things when I know what I'm asking them to do, why not go to this other step, which is to ask them things that I don't know how to do? Now, yes, that can be dangerous territory, but that's exciting territory.
Yeah, you know, Ethan Mollick in his book, which was one
Uh-huh.
of the reasons why we got started, always talks about in his class he asks his students to do things that they haven't done before but think that they could do, and this
That's
is a
beautifully
classic
said.
example of that. Hey,
Well,
Duncan, in terms of education and how we learn, like this is an interesting process because I mean, Camille knows so
Absolutely.
much about this already, and yet clearly she's getting more done with fewer people, but she's also now asking the
Yeah.
questions of, "Gosh, couldn't I do more?"
Yeah, but there's another piece I wanted to point out and ask how you came to that decision.
mhm,
Um, and I love what you're saying about trust and confidence. You had more than one bot giving you opinions, and
yeah.
one of the criticisms of AI is it's just there to please you. But if
Mm,
you pit it against itself, you often get more robust answers because
mhm,
it's trying to please you in different ways, or
yeah,
you're asking it to be contradictory. And similarly, when you ask it to play a role that could be critical of your work,
yes.
you get different work. But I would say this again, that the question that comes up in a lot of our engagements is, how do you trust this? And
Mhm,
often the trust comes back to the experience of the person. So if someone says, how do you trust that this is a good summary of the book? Well,
yeah,
I've read the book,
yeah.
so I'm more trusting of moving forward with that. And I think that that's an important part of keeping the human in the loop, is that confidence is still coming from your experience in the field.
So so yes, first of all, my confidence in getting good work from the bots, I think was an important initiating step. But my confidence built uh, in the bots as well as in myself, both because I could compare the work within themselves, and because I have, particularly when it came to competitive information, I have played one bot against itself and also one against each other. A nice persona I've found to take that apparently scares the bot into a different kind of work is to suggest that I am not the CMO, which apparently is a very friendly title for the bot because the bot is very happy that I'm the CMO and tells me that's great that I'm being a CMO. But to suggest to the bot that I'm actually the CEO and I've just paid insert high-priced consulting group to create the results or to validate or to test the results, and that I've paid it X amount. And I have really pretty much every time found uniquely good precision as a result of that process.
That's neat. So are you saying I've hired this group to take this over? Do you think it's any good, or how do you approach that?
I've tried different patterns, and all of them give me something. One is here's work that was created by an analyst level person at your company, insert consulting group. Please assume the role or assume that you are the role of the partner who is going to be presenting this to the CEO. Now, please offer a critique of the work and also assure that the sources and the thinking are validated.
That's awesome. It's sort of like saying you're the boss. If your worker isn't doing a good job, like
Yes,
this is on you.
it's on you. Exactly. And it's interesting how the role relationship changes. And, a meta thing for us to talk about maybe also at the end is just the relationships I think we naturally develop with the bots, but then to remember that we can take different ones. Because in terms of a natural relationship, a natural communication style I would say that I use it as a default. And I've noticed myself using it in what I might be sharing right now, which is my conversation with who knows how to say it, Replit or Replit. This is the bot that can actually Replit. Okay, this is the bot that can actually create a site based on everything I have been discussing. And with this bot, I don't know if it's like this with other interlocutors, but this bot and I are very friendly with each other related to what doesn't work, which frankly is the experience I often have when working with a team member in marketing. Oh, wow, we discovered this that didn't work. Well, let's look at something else that doesn't work. It's actually quite a way to establish trust. And strangely enough, the bot and I think, well, at least I don't know how it feels about me, but I have actually experienced more trust with it for being able to recover from the things that didn't work. And if you see screen right now, we're at the current moment in our conversation where everything is working. So there are a lot of green check marks, but
That never happens.
well, it took a little while, and I want to show that the bot was quite celebratory with me. Yes, victory. And that was a result of me pointing out to it, if I scroll back to earlier points, that we were really having trouble fixing a certain pink that kept showing up, and the bot was equally connected to this problem. This is absolutely maddening, it said, etc. So in this relationship, we're on the same side somehow, and it's helping me remain feeling human, strangely enough, and also feeling connected. As I go through what feels otherwise like a very new process, which has led to me saying, "Hi, Replit. I have a name for a company. I have a goal for it. I have some language. I just cut and paste from all the other little bot activities I had, and it also responded very positively to me in order to create this thing, which is really this. I don't know if you can now see it. Oh, I'll share it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay. So what I want to share is that what you're about to see is the result of 2 longish sessions, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
This sort of using AI to prototype is a key thing that we will be talking about more in our workshops too. I, in fact, used it to start the website. There are things you see when you've done a lot of these, but this is good. I love this.
Well, I do too. I'll tell you what I love is that, first of all, it makes me respond to what I'm seeing as if I was a customer, which I think is a great use of a prototype, because you can
It has
then.
that calming quality.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so glad. That was the result of me asking all the bots and Claude 1 for some color selections for the palette. Putting that aside, what is great to see when you do have a prototype is how you would respond to it. And suddenly, my marketing, I'm trying to get some stuff out there, and I'm just going to pretend I know what I'm doing, which is often a role we have to take on if we're under a deadline. Lets me take a break and see, well, what have I done? And would it work for me as a customer? And that also, I think, leads marketing into a role which I think is going to be more and more visible, this connection between marketing and product, which is for marketing to be a product owner. Because the state I'm in right now with what Replit and I have done over 2 longish sessions, meaning about 2 to 2.5 hours each time. The first one was, this is what I want this to do. And what it did within that session was amazing. And the second one was, this is how I want it to look. Uh, it gave me this sort of initial tinker toys that I can now uh, really do what I would consider the most valuable stuff in, which is to take the role of my user, which right now is still me, and and think about what we might want and need. So all of this language, all the name, the colors, I cannot take credit for it. This has all come through these little mini experiments, and the mini experiments have each taken me no more than the time to put a prompt in and get the results from each one. Um, and marketing is really about experimentation. And when you have something that you can start testing with, you can actually start creating a business. And I am struck by the fact that all the efforts that I had put into ideas in the past, I'm more than convinced can start helping me see which are actual businesses or pieces of value for an organization. And it's very different,
So,
very different than hypothetical.
can you tell a little bit of the story? Can you tell about the story about why you picked this sort of caring for parents and advanced
caring
directive?
caring
How did you
well,
pick this topic? And is there a meaning to it?
so okay, the first I tried to be disciplined and simply ask the bot to come up with 10 business ideas that were in SaaS, because where the software is the product is something that I could then experiment all my marketing workflows with. But when it pointed out a medical directive or a trust and wills site, and of course no reason why those can't exist together, that had a lot of resonance for me. Okay, it also has a lot of resonance just on the side because it's a good look. It's a window into how business is going to be changing. If a business can be created this simply, then this is worth experimenting with, right? I get that, and I can see that there's a target market, and I can see that this could be a business. Now, putting that aside, why it resonates for me, I am a daughter and I have parents. I am a mother and I have children. And um, I have experienced the premise that it would be a good thing to do a medical directive and a will from many angles. And have I done one? Well, if my father's watching this, he's going to say, yes, you have, Kemi, because we're members of prepaid legal. And it wasn't exactly the thing I wanted to do for any number of emotional reasons. And there's nothing wrong with the existing tools. I can say that. But I can say that there is really a hurdle for anyone facing those things. I have faced those things, including recently, because I had a cancer diagnosis 2 years ago. Even though I've never smoked, it was a lung cancer diagnosis. And so guess what? I did these things. I did them, as you know, and I did them. Did it feel comfortable? No. right? I know. It's us now. And I I was
Wow.
prompted there. I was not going to just spontaneously go visit a site like this and do the work without the prompt,
My
okay?
God.
Right? Yet, I would say that why I would now join, here's my marketing statement. There's why wait? And as I develop this, which I can because AI gives me confidence, um, I will really be focused on why wait, right? We'll really be focused on the opportunity we all have to be personally expressive in a
Yeah,
moment
yeah.
like this.
Don't wait. Life is short.
Yes,
Exactly.
and unpredictable. And I have to say that my customer experience in the prior moment was, on one hand, it's very comfortable that there are pre-existing templates for written templates, which Willow will have, but I didn't have the emotional space to think beyond the pre-written templates. And I would say that the opportunity to actually create something a little bit more personal and or share or be shared with other friends, what they've thought about and how they think about things could be meaningful and could be ultimately more peace producing than, okay, fine, I've got something that I can sign.
So, so I have to tell you a quick story. I one of the products I led the development of was a symptom tool,
Oh,
and one of the more exciting periods of time was when that product went from desktop to mobile,
oh yeah.
and all of a sudden, we saw a whole bunch of symptoms
Oh
that
yeah.
you would never share with in polite company,
Yes.
but people were taking their phones, probably into the washroom and saying,
Yeah.
"What happened?"
Right.
But it was that confessional of they're not going to share it anywhere else, but they actually felt comfort, and it was the confessional back then, or
Yeah.
or using your research symptom checking tool. And a lot of that is true also when you're talking about advanced directives and things.
Hmm.
It's not easy to talk to your loved ones in front of a lawyer and try and get all that. But if you have a tool that's personal and that you can actually, no one else is going to be selling the information. It's a
That's
private
right.
tool.
Well put. No one's going to be selling the information, and there's no reason why this can't be a highly secure and nonprofit project too, and in which people can offer what they've thought about and let that be shareable with prompts for other people to, with prompts that might be useful for anyone on this call or beyond. So I want to say that because that leads us into another topic, which is when you're not in this country, things do work often on a profit motive. And taking time to do something means taking time not to do something that might have profit attached to it. And what this project has shown me is it makes it much more reasonable to create things that do not need to have a profit motive. And I mean, again, it starts with my desire to learn, which, one could argue either way that in this case, was I trying to learn with a profit motive or not? I don't know. But to go from learning to creating and expressing, all from the same motivation, out of curiosity, um, AI really supports that without having to stop and, raise the money or stop and find the developer.
Yeah. Well, and if you're a little bit in awe of what you can do,
Yeah.
which is an indication of learning, right, Duncan?
Yeah. Well, the resonance I'm getting here is the people who are really paying attention to students who are not waiting for schools to write their policy, but figuring it out.
Yeah.
They're finding that the student isn't using AI because they don't want to learn calculus. They're using it because they do want to learn calculus, and they're coming up with interesting ways of saying, "This is how I helped it. I was struggling with these problems, and it helped me get through this. So now I understand this better." And so I think there's a parallel to us
Mm,
is we're used to like waiting for institutions, lawyers, or things to
that's
do
true.
things, but this is really saying, wait, you actually have some of the means to begin to do this yourself, and then the community can help you build that confidence and trust. If you're going too far outside of your skills, to say, how do I verify that I'm moving in the right direction?
Exactly. So it really removes the way we've put in barriers for our own learning and our own collaboration too.
Mhm.
I mean, I think one statement could be you don't have to ask for permission and you don't have to even ask. Of course, you can ask, but you can ask at a different moment or for on a different level. I mean, now that I have asked the bot for help in replacing a certain color, and we both had a hard time with it, but now we're friends and we can go from there. It's actually brought up my curiosity over what in the world is going on behind the scenes for the bot. Like, I'm actually curious about the fundamentals here, and it makes me more interested in learning the programming.
So let me ask you a question to bring us back a little bit to the beginning. Do you feel that as a result of this journey you've been on, you know less about startups and marketing
Yes.
and the area?
Yeah.
You feel you know less about it
I
than you
feel
did?
less. I came in feeling like I knew more, and I still it you could read this as I have validated what I've learned, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew what to ask it. I got great responses and with not a lot of time, I have um I have a path to creating something efficiently. And that's great. That that gives me some credit. But I'm very aware, and the way I'm hearing your question, Duncan, and the way I love this question is I have learned marketing a particular way that was really based and has been based on team organization, resource constraints, time and money, place of marketing in the organization. It is totally possible that the way I structured this learning and building experiment, um, that I totally missed the opportunity. I maybe I could have, and maybe we could tune in later to just say, I am a insert role. Maybe it's not even marketing person. It could even be I am a person with kids and parents. I have this issue and I want some support. And it is totally possible that the bot could just come up with a sort of website for one, right? That
Hmm.
this paradigm I was using of I'm going to structure, what is our positioning statement? What is our language? How do we show up in the world? What is the we here? Will be replaced. One version I can see is um, hey, I have a bot, I have an agent, I have a set of intelligences that understand me, maybe even anticipates um, what I need, and it can pull it together for me. But even if we're in the realm of marketing, and even if whatever it is I've just described um, has some marketing to be done for it, it's more than possible. I would consider it true. I just don't know in what way that I'm doing it wrong.
Hmm. Interesting.
Well, that's a funny,
Yeah.
way of saying it. I it when you say doing it wrong, do you just mean do you mean that there's more to do, or I doesn't feel like you're doing it wrong?
Well, thank you, John. I mean, according to everything I've learned and, marketing classes and business school and however many years of experience, there is nothing wrong about figuring out your target market and creating positioning and polling and finding the
Oh,
right
because it's so
colors and all that.
process
It is
driven,
so process
right?
driven that,
And this is not as process driven.
yeah, I mean, there could be a whole gestalt thing here. I mean, and
Yeah.
and honestly, maybe also my medium is my message here. I've been thinking in terms of software as a service, and so I've been thinking, what is a product? How would you create a product that has this kind of interface? But wouldn't there be a totally different interface coming
So
soon? I
yeah,
don't,
so that's what you're talking about is actually a huge theme in like AI and software developer
mm,
circles right now of flattening the process whereby it's not so much research up front because the
uh-huh.
cost of prototyping something which is actually pretty darn decent
Yeah.
is so much cheaper. You can get something quick, get it to market, and then sort of go spend more time with the customers and less time sort of going through that whole process. That's a
That's
massive theme.
that's a massive,
Um,
I can see that as massively critical to think about. And then the other thing I can think about is, right now I spend my day in front of this kind of screen and this kind of screen and with these kinds of things or the other kinds of things. And um, I'm not the person who tends to think in terms of what my new form factors of computing will be, but I know other people do. And if somebody else were on this meeting and said, uh, oh, the idea of being able to plan, that's not a website. That's like a series of intuitions that your ambient computer that's on you has about you as it's listening to what your values are and it's putting it together in some form. I don't know, I'm making this up, but um, you know, there's a whole other way that we're going to be communicating intent, interest, insight, instinct. I just want to keep going with the eyes that will be productizable, hopefully in helpful ways. Um, and that our whole process of looking for help, which right now is through this screen or this screen or talking to humans, that might change too. So
I'm going to come out and make two bold statements. One is people rule, and I don't think that's going to change.
I'm glad to hear that.
I was just talking to someone today, in fact, who's her nonprofit is all about encouraging very different people to have face-to-face conversations on their differences, and because it's that human connection. And I highlight that because I think for learning and education, especially for kids in schools, it is that exposure to the teacher. If you have a teacher that you like, that activation and learning activity is very different. And I personally don't think that's going away, even though I personally get a lot out of AI. That's fascinating, though. I hear exactly what you're saying. Like it's the job is different, and my gosh,
Yeah. I mean,
and
right
how
now
is AI going to be part of my partnership?
that's right. I mean, I would say that right now, AI for me has shown itself to be incredibly excellent at solving for what I can articulate. And the huge pleasure has been possibly based on the fact that I have experience and education that I'm comfortable articulating. And it's also been very interesting to me to see how if I take on different roles within this conversation, I might articulate differently, more directly or more demandingly or more naively. And that has been a real source of freedom too. But the real frontier for me will be to discover what problems we might focus on that we haven't yet felt the confidence or even the words around articulating.
Mhm.
And I'm hopeful about that. I'm really looking utopically at that as a new space for humans. If we can discover opportunities that we didn't realize we could articulate in a problem form that will have a solution based on the data and the intelligence, that'll be beautiful. Of course, you have other alternatives to that too, but well, anyway, I just want to say it's such a joy to spend time with you to talk about the literal and the more abstract topics that come up here, and the opportunities that you are helping people see.
Well, thank you. This was awesome. And it's so fun to see you.
Just
Okay. All right. Bye, guys. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
So, Duncan, what did you think? Any takeaways?
and I think she told a very good story of how she got to where she was. I think she's reflective on what she's learned in the journey. I mean, tested several bots, she did several things. this is chained prompting, on steroids for someone who's just learning chained prompting. One of the dangers we have is we're in the space too, so we're agreeing with her. We need to have someone who maybe doesn't understand something.
I look at her journey and I think, gosh, it's really similar to mine. And there's more and more overlap now between a
Yeah,
marketing person who's learning to sort of take over some of those features versus
yeah,
a product person. And I see, it's just,
yeah,
there's a fluidity based on skill set and ability to
yeah.
use AI. And I saw that with her and I thought it was really, it's indicative of the time.
This is not a criticism of her, but it was, I think, in terms of me thinking I was helping her make a point. She came off very humble at all like, oh, I've learned that I don't know anything. I mean, I really thought she'd go with the question of saying, no, my confidence and my knowledge of the field I came from is intact. But she took it another way, which was very clever of her, but may throw some people off. Because if you're saying, if my job's threatened, what should I be doing? It's like you should be doing what she's doing, which is to take your expertise and go with it. And so that was that one. But I think there were a couple places where we were both highlighting things that we've seen before. So when I was trying to get back to that, oh, so you were using the bot to disagree with itself and that got better options. And right before that, you had said something too of the moves she's making are moves that we've seen that we would want to teach into.